more powerful way to do it, and you got to prepare to do that, because if you don't have it, if you're not prepared, you're not going to have it. So he's doing just as much work as everybody else that's jotting down notes, but he coming straight from the source of our leader. And this is what the enemies of Imam W. Muhammad don't want to see. They want to see you saying, oh, now I can take his place now. I don't need to read no quotes from him. I was there myself, So praise be to Allah, and we thank Allah for co-chair. That's what co-chair, right? That's right. Co-chair, Imam Yusuf Ramadan, for doing that. And I thank everybody that I see do that. Talib Sharif often does that. He'll read and quote for me, and I don't waste no time. I thank him immediately, for respecting. And all of y'all do it. I'm looking at this man back here. Now, we do it in different ways, but it's impressive to me when they pull out something. Just read it. Oh, Imam, remember Lionel Farrakhan, he does it too. And if I keep thinking, all y'all probably do it. But his is fresh in my mind. So the human identity, who we are as a people, was erased and taken from us. I started talking about Imam Muhammad mentioned that space. Imam Muhammad, like a couple of Imams here were saying that Imam Ajin was saying that Imam Muhammad, you have to listen and he'll give reference. So I'm not going to do that. Imam Muhammad was a very, very scholarly Imam that I never saw anybody, his critics, come and challenge him. They might criticize him, but they didn't have nothing to bag it up with. So that's why I use the term jealousy and envy. And that's what the enemies of our community want to do. They want to see our future cut off. And they whisper and lie and use every trick that they can pull out to try to divide and separate us as a family. Because the devil has known the man that Allah created and the human being, and what he was at nature, which is a social being, which is a father and a mother and siblings, grandbabies, aunts and uncles, that we're a close, tight-knit family that depend on each other, not just for physical support, for food, clothing and shelter, but for emotional and spiritual support, that we are one human soul, essentially. But if he can take that soul and confuse it about itself and have the arm going this way, the head this way, and the left leg and the ear, and all divided and confused, then you got a person that look like they've been run over by a car and dangled from a string and asked to do a dance for you or something. You got a very grotesque looking being trying to walk upright and look like and saying, oh, I'm a community, I'm a person, I'm a human being, So they want to take us off of the beautiful, keep us out of the beautiful picture of humanity that Allah has had since the first man, since the first human soul was created. And they're doing a good job. But I never thought that after Imam Muhammad being here so long that that's why I figured we probably got agents or hypocrites or something in positions of leaderships as Imam. We got people that never really were sincere believers or never really converted in their heart, but they were pretending because it was maybe a hustle for them or something. I don't know. And I'm not calling out, don't go back and tell nobody, I'm calling out everybody that's not in this room a hypocrite. But they know who they are. The hypocrites know that they hypocrites. And the disbelievers know that they don't believe. And the opportunists know that they're opportunists. And the devils know that they are devilish behavior in their heart. Because their sole intention is to lead you away from the path of Allah and lead you away from your destiny and from the purity that Allah wants for you and for the peace in your soul and in your entire life and the beauty of unity and the heaven on earth that Muslim societies are promised, and that if they follow Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they obey Allah and follow the Prophet and obey the Prophet, that you can have a situation for your community that's heaven. And Allah is my witness. I almost saw a glimpse of it. I was very young when my father became the leader. And the believers were so sincere in their love for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and just because his son, the believers, we don't see people like this no more. Even our spirit has been dampened a bit. The people beamed with light and beauty and love and sincerity. I think I told my kids this one time. They probably wouldn't listen and say, "Daddy talking," because I don't talk like that often. But they probably say he's exaggerating to get our attention. But I told them I was born in a place that was closest to heaven as you can get. You have no idea. I haven't met a person that they could tell me maybe the king or the prince or the whatever over in China or somewhere where they really make over their leader, that somebody else has experienced what Imam Mahdi has experienced. I just saw it. I didn't experience. I saw his soul in a place, in a state of complete peace, not because of just him, but because of the environment he was in. It was like it wasn't from earth. When I look back at it, because it's gone, I ain't never seen it again. And it left his life. When he became the leader, they put major burdens on him. And because did you see how he kept peace in his soul to the day he passed. But the environment, he spent a lot of times defending us and trying to protect us from hell, from the hellfire that was targeted at our community, but through him. So they want to cut us off. And I'm going to tell you something too. Now, y'all know that I think kind of metaphorically, and I'm, sometimes I try to, we do this, human beings do this. That's why Allah gave us an intellect, so we can study and try to make something out of things that we don't understand. I believe that the attack and the assault on us is not just on the community. It is on us as physical people, human beings, and that one of the most difficult challenges, that if we could overcome it, it would defeat the plan of the devil. But the only way we can do it is we have to have a community back, and we have to have strong, tight-knit communities, but we can't do that and pay our bills at the same time. So we're in a tough spot. I haven't figured it out yet, but if we could save our children from the devil, I'm not saying, and you save your children, his children's the devil. No, all my children are saved, and they saints, they good people in their heart, but the obstacles that the devil put in the way, I should have a bunch of grandkids by now, but I don't, because Satan has prevented them access to believing Muslims. They're believers in their heart, and they're not just average believers, they're believers and followers of Imam MIWDM Mohammed. So it's hard for them to find somebody that they will accept without compromising, and that's the devil's plan. And I said, if y'all want to gauge the success of the community, count my grandkids and see how long. That's what the devil wants. The devil started here. The devil started with Imam's family, tried to cut him off. Count how many of us that got long term. See, I knew the devil's plan. I knew he was after me, but not after me, but trying to hurt my father through hurting me. And then when I realized that, I said, if I protect myself, I protect my father. So, but not everybody sees that. And then look at his children and his family. How many people are married? They not bad people. They good people. He raised them. The devil is doing double time because he knows that if he breaks up the basis of a human society, which is the family, the mother, father, child, that he won. African American people. Okay, now I'm going to leave my personal space. The same thing going on in the African American community. There ain't no men in the homes. So the women, they good with their children. They love them to death. But they have a hard time producing a man that especially don't even have a culture to fall back on, or even a motivational starting point. That's why I got stuck on the ablution. I couldn't start. And I think that's something that's been clocked into my genes. The fear, the fear hit you, bam. And you can't take that first step. Then you got to go back and you got to clear your head and focus. And then you get that starting point. Oh, go. Okay, go. Green light. So our people cannot get off their feet because they have no basis to start from. And the devil's doing everything in his power. I would say shaitan, because people say devil, they think I'm looking at a white man. You know, they just in the majority. That's all. Because we're a minority. This is and they hold all the power and the money and the resources. Allah's creation also liberates and frees the human being. And if you don't have any of it, you are missing out on so much education, so much natural education. So they cut us off from the natural life that Allah has created. And so the opportunity to know your self-value and what your self-value is, it was touched on earlier, probably by many other imams, but I do recall hearing it here, that your value is not what you can do for yourself. I think that's what I heard. Not what you can do for yourself, but it's saying the exact same thing that I'm thinking. Is not, and it's the service that you give. Well, Allah blesses you. Anybody that knows this, that yeah, it's good to have material things, and Imam Muhammad said you won't be successful and you won't be happy if you don't have Allah first. So when you go after success and money or materialism, but the value, the blessing comes when you discover in life. Now, if you have a natural household that you're growing up with a mother and father, you discover that when you do good, you make mom and daddy happy, you know. So when you do good, you get rewarded, you feel good about it, and you have a natural inclination. But what a lot of people don't realize, that even if you don't have that good parenting in the household to teach you the correct way to be a good person, a human being when you grow up, you learn in life through your own nature and your own doing that it's more pleasure in sharing a meal than to just sit alone and eat a meal. Those people be unhappy. And you can look at them when they sitting there eating by themselves and look like they don't want no company. You know, they sit there, you know, don't want to share and ain't welcoming nobody to come share with them. But that's just a small thing. Food is everything. Then when you sacrifice your money and your time and your energy, you join in. When we were young, we come up around the Muslims, there was always some work for us to do. So the little guys would join the older guys. They would instruct us, hey, y'all get all them chairs out of that room. Or we got to clean up this room so we can have this program or whatever. Or we need to get them chairs out of the auditorium because the program's going to start or whatever. And we would join in. And my spirit always was for to have fun and enjoy being around the other young brothers, you know. And I've had experience of the opposite, where I look up, I'm obeying, I'm doing the work, and the other brothers, they playing around, and we ain't did what we was asked to do. I would stay in the room and I would finish the work. I've never been a person that lazy or run from doing work. So, but still, all in all, your blessings come when you start giving something of yourself, not expecting a reward back, and then Allah will multiply. And I'm an eyewitness. I know it. That the more I do, even when you go in your pocket and say, "Well, man, that cost me a lot of money," you know, but it cost you a lot of money because you was trying to not spend. You weren't trying to spend a certain dollar. You were trying to achieve a certain amount of help. Like these people needed this, that, or whatever. And you were trying to provide that because you saw yourself in a position where you could do that. I'm trying not to give up some of the charity I've done, but every time I did something and I went a little over, I've done stuff that my wife, I couldn't tell her because I thought if she disagree, then we're going to have an argument. And she might say, well, that's you going overboard. I always go overboard, but I ask her now because I got stacks of I got vaults, rooms of blessings with Allah that the angels that wrote down. They get books of them. So now I'm a little easy, and I say, well, Robin, I'm gonna give this to so and so, and then she'll say, well, why don't you just give this much? Because when I thought about it, I said, why? Yeah, I shouldn't give it all, then I ain't gonna have nothing. So sometimes I use her to kind of sober me up. Yeah, because you can be greedy with your charity. I know Allah was gonna give me tenfold back or whatever I gave out, but then it's not really rational to give up too much, because then He might say, you knew you was giving too much. So now your car break down, and now you got to get it fixed and see if you had gave a civilized amount, you'd be able to fix your car. You know, yeah, Allah do stuff like that. He'll rein you back because you can get greedy for blessings too. And when I saw how Allah was blessing me, I said, this is the key. The key to myself is I am a social creature. I am responsible for my brother and sister and their well-being. Like if I can see blight in my community, in my neighborhood, that burden is on me, and Allah will bless me on the measure that I act on it. Now if I don't have the power to do anything other than to be against it in my heart, Allah's still going to bless me as if I went out and solved that problem. Because Allah's done it for me. I said, well, if I go out there right now, I don't know. Them guys, I'm outnumbered. They might be carrying, so I'm going to be against it. And then I said, well, let me think about it. Let me check my blood pressure. See, this is another thing people don't know. Am I just upset because I'm perceiving something? Or don't act on the thing until you at a state of complete peace. And Allah has blessed me with enough security in my life that I'm not on edge all the time. I'm never on edge. Y'all can look at my eyes. Y'all know me. I'm blessed with peace. I don't get swayed. I don't get emotionally pulled into things. And if I do, it's because I embraced it at that moment. You see. And so if you're not in control of your own self and your own emotional state, then Shaitan can guide you, and you can lose the help of Allah. So that state of peace that you have, you can look at a situation, and then I would look at the situation and say, hey, you know what? What they doing, it's gonna pass. What they're doing out there, and they look bad because the culture tells them that this is the image for your generation or your youth. And then I thought about it, I said, well, I ain't gonna call the police on these kids. So I didn't. And then I looked a little closer, and I could be wrong, but then I saw like some, I don't want to say this tape might go out, but my neighbors, I don't care, they watch. I saw a nameplate that said nurses save lives. I said, are these guys gangbangers? Are they a group of nurses with tattoos and long hair and dreadlocks? I'm like, they might be a group of nurses. I said, but then when I talked to them, then I thought about it. I said, you know what? I grew up in Chicago. I'm like, I live in the suburbs now. These not gangbangers. These are nice, well-dressed, well-mannered, well-mannered, respecting kids. So, but when you're upset, you thinking about where you come from. I'll tell you another example. I called the police when I first moved in my house because my garage door was bent. I said, somebody trying to force my garage door open. Called the police. Police came. He said, well, did the alarm come on? Well, he said something like, he said that we don't have no crime out here. Nobody, not since we've been out there, might have been, but he said that there's no break-ins. He said there haven't been no break-ins here. And he was saying it as if you knew around here. And he's saying there haven't been no break-ins. They don't break in houses around here. And he said the only time when we come out, he said it's usually somebody forgot to turn the alarm off, or or didn't have the alarm code or whatever. So that made me think about it, and I said, but somebody been messing with my door. The people that installed the door supposed to put a steel beam or aluminum beam across there to support it, so that when the garage door open pulls on it, it don't buckle the door. Right. So they didn't put the support up there, and I said, okay. But I still wasn't convinced. I still ain't convinced, because I moved from Calumet City, and my daughter and them told me they call that Killer Calumet over there. But it's better too. And I left. There was a body on the street. Guy laying in the street, had his watch and ring on and everything, but he was dead, and they put tape around. Right on the corner of my house, and my children were on their way home from school, and they left the body out there. So Yeah, they left the body out there. They had tape on. They were out there for hours, and the kids came home walking. You saw them with the blue and with the light blue shirts, and like they would come around the corner and be going to their houses and everything. And the body was I was maybe about 3 blocks from the school. Yeah.
The psychological damage that was done.
That's what I told my wife. Psychological to me and everybody else. What, right? Oh. No.
Oh, okay.
This in Calumet City.
Okay.
And the other thing, we had to get them to take the graffiti. And I told, when I called specifically when we first moved over there was this one family, and the man was really racist. We were trying to pull a branch down, and we had cut it most of the way because we had a 28-foot ladder. It was a big branch in a big tree. He comes out with his, what do they call them? The lynching ropes. What is that? Fiber, the coconut fiber, or what they make, natural rope. It was a big old natural rope. He took that sucker and threw it up in the tree. It wrapped and held onto itself. I said, wow. I went back to, I was seeing movies and roots and everything. I said, is this sucker trying to insult me and my friend? And then he pulling on the rope, and it got the tree. The tree was stuck. It was the branch, big branch was stuck, and he got the branch down. I said, when he threw that rope up there, and I think he pulled it out the trunk of his car. But he lived right across the street, and his kids are the ones, I'm pretty sure, because there was no, I'm not going to get into the details, but they weren't African American, and they had spray painted on our garages. And I don't think that was no coincidence. Ours, was it our garage, or it was the garage next to us, and the guy next to us that didn't have a garage, it was the garage next to him. And so I said, with the children, they see this coming home from school. Oh yeah, it was the one on the corner. And I said, that graffiti is gonna make them think there's gangs down here that they have to beware of. And it was like hundreds of, well, maybe not hundreds, maybe 25 or 50, a big group of kids at the end of the day would come up that street, I guess, to disperse. So I said that because it makes me feel uncomfortable. So that is something that they do. They'll leave up things and allow children to see it. So okay, I'm going too far on into that story. It's not that pretty of a story anyway, because that's why we moved. But the human being's value is in his in fulfilling his obligation as a social creature. As we know, as believers, we know that I believe the prophet said that the marriage is on the shore of the Deen, or the half of your Deen. It's on the shore of the religion. So in order to fulfill your obligations to your Deen. So in order to fulfill yourself as a believer, if you're a Muslim, you got to get married to fulfill your responsibility to your religion. So that's the number one social cue to know that if you want to be successful, you need help. You're not going to make it out here alone. But society tells you, hey, you're better off by yourself. You can make it out here alone. You can do whatever, this and that, and they're discouraging people from marrying by having welfare as catalyst to prevent women from being married because they can't have a husband. But they'll move them in a nice brand new house, a nice big apartment, and they can have as many babies as they want. And their man can hang around like a servant and maybe mop the floors or something, but he ain't supposed to live there. He ain't even supposed to live there, I think, right? Right. And I said, wow, that's cold-blooded. And then the people, the homosexuals, which I always thought, I'm still confused, and forgive me for my ignorance, but I thought marriage was a religious institution in the first place, and that it was God that said that you marry and have witnesses to your marriage, and I hear a lot of people say marriage is for a man and woman, but in our Quran, there's no qualms about it. You know that Allah punishes lewdness, in the Quran, specifically for lewd behavior. But marriage is a religious institution, and Imam Muhammad expressed that in a really beautiful way for people that, young people that are seeking to be married. And he said that you don't marry just because you're in love with somebody, or because they got money, you think they could make a good provider for you, or sex. He said money and sex is a means to an end. It's all a means to an end. But marriage is a religious institute. I might not be quoting him exactly in that order, but he said marriage is a religious institute, and you marry because Allah says to marry. So you do it in obedience to Allah. And whether you do it in obedience to Allah or not, when you mate with a woman, this is something that he told me. I remember that affected me much, made me want to hurry up and get married. He said, regardless of you married or not, that Allah acknowledges and he knows that you're with a woman if you're with a woman. And now if afterwards, if Allah accepts your union, then afterwards you go and cheat on her, then you're an adulterer. He didn't say it exactly like that, but the way he said it, the logic said, so I'm like, well, Allah see me, so I'm getting married as soon as possible. And that's just my logic. So I said, well, yeah, Allah sees everything. So I'm thinking, yeah, and I don't want to displease Allah. I want to please Allah. So that gave me a different motivation. Where society teaches you got to have a wedding, a certain amount of money, and this and that. Now you want to first please Allah and obey Allah. And if that means getting married and having your vows, and he said also, now the dowry for Muslims, a lot of people don't know this. You don't have to spend all your money on a wedding, but you do need to spend your money on a dowry. So if you have a good dowry for marriage, that's what then you should feel good as a man that you can marry her, and that dowry you don't take none of it back if something happens where you all decide not to marry. But a lot of people want to spend all their money on. Oh, and he said, the dowry is something that after you marry, you continue to work on it. That's something that's an ongoing thing. So a lot of women don't know that. That if your husband give you an itty bitty ring, don't think he done with that dowry. He got to have a bank account and put some money in there and have a savings. So the dowry is so that if he's gone, you're not left with nothing, with bill. So you always working on the dowry to put something away, to have something so that the woman will have something. Yeah. So that's the life of the human being. I believe is the social life, and us as African American people, we've been by design separated from what would lead us or what would allow us to progress as a community, because the Satan and the enemies of our community, the enemies of us as a people, and Imam Muhammad know that that is the key thing that can hold us back, is division, and have us divided. So for our success, for our productivity, I believe that's the ability to know that who you are, that you are the creation of Almighty God, Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah, the creator, Allah that created us and everything in the heavens and the earth, that he created nothing in the heavens and the earth but for his worship and for his service. He created the human being, jinn, men, the angels, and everything for no other purpose but to serve him and to serve his will. And everything in the universe and in the creation does, except for man. So if we need to come into the knowledge of ourselves and the knowledge of our creation in order to fulfill the I guess what you call it, our destiny as a creation, is to come into the conscious mindset and into the order of the universe, which is to most importantly be connected to humanity more so than as an individual or a single person, as a servant of Allah, just like everything else in creation. And once you do that, then you can benefit from Allah's creation. And He said He created everything in the heavens and the earth to yield its resources for the benefit of mankind. And the evidence is that there's nothing outside of the universe that we can't think, live, breathe, or do anything outside of the material reality that Allah put us in, the earth. So we're a part of the material creation of the material world. We are the universe, the universal man that Imam Mohammed spoke about. So I believe that's my contribution, that if we continue to study the earth, once you realize that you are one, the creation is one, Allah is one, and that you're one with the creation, not just your the material world, and by benefiting you, yielding His resources and His benefit to you, is not just as we can dig up minerals and resources in the earth, gold and metal, and build things and cut down the trees and use the different things to gas and to warm our homes, and or trade the animals and to feed off the animals and all. Not just on a physical level, but the greatest benefit is when you look at a thing and it reveals the nature of your own self. When you can look at the material world around you and see something of the spiritual life and the spiritual creation that Allah made in you. And that's the real growth and the real growth benefit. That's when your own nature begins to educate you, and you're able to think freely, and you're able to discover things that can benefit you and the life of your community. And so you have one intellect, your intellect, that's in touch, in tune with Allah's creation and at peace with it. And you don't look at it to dominate it, you look at it as a student to allow it to reveal itself to you. That's why the Muslim needs peace in his life, and we need al-Islam in order to even benefit from our own resource. And the greatest material resource that we have is the human intellect. So having a special human intellect that we have, that allows us to, that nothing in the material reality cannot be digested from the human intellect. We can see it for the first time, we can take it, study it with our five senses, and by the time we put it down or walk away from it, we have new information. We understand it, because that's why Allah gave the analogy that asked the angels to explain it, and they couldn't. But Adam could explain it, although he had no prior knowledge of it. That's our human intellect. So our human intellect can engage something and extract the benefit from it, and then take it back to the community and use it. And that's an individual. But when an individual, you have a university or a school or a collective or a shura of men and women that are coming together and studying Allah's creation and studying His book, and when you have two imams together, or two scientists, or two teachers together, then you have that much more benefit. When you have a room full of people, so the value of the community increases with the numbers. So one man, or a student at school, a student, I don't like putting my people on the spot, but he graduated, so I tell him, he looked like he was having a rough time struggling. A little bit, because every day we wasn't picking him up once a week or something, whatever. He'd have him in the car, and I would just ask him how's school going and how's everything, and I could sense if things would get a little rough or difficult, so I would dig a little deeper. But if everything seemed okay, I don't dig. But then I dig a little deeper. Then I say, I know his personality. He's real proud, and and competitive, extremely competitive. So he's trying to make straight A's, and then I could tell when he was struggling. And then so I said, you know what you got to do? I said, are there any kids that understand this area of this math that you're in right now? And he said, yeah, there's some that's doing it. He said, but they not black, they Asian or Caucasian, whatever they are. And so I said, you know what you got to do? I said, you got to drop your pride and your ego. Your goal is to get a good grade. I said, you go to them and you beg them if they have to sit with you, spend time with you, and you need to know what they know. And until you know what they know, that you don't have time to be proud. You got to drop that pride and get that work done. And he did it and graduated and without a problem. And but sometimes people need that help. And a lot of times that's where we fail, by being isolated. Because we don't have a little smart group of friends that's going to sit down. If we do, we lucky. Same thing with our community. That when we work together, you have one intellect, but two intellects might be just that little bit you need to get over the hump to where you're going. And then everybody else down here at the bottom, because they divided. The masses will be down here, and that few that pooled their resources will far outstretch. Like the Jews, they say materially, they're very strong in the world and in the United States and everywhere. But number-wise, their numbers are getting bigger now, because with wealth, their numbers going to get bigger. But a lot of people don't convert, but still they're strong with little numbers, and that goes the same for people when they join together. I'm counting the clock down now. Oh, so y'all get sick of me doing this. I'm gonna go back to the signs of Allah in the universe. I said that a lot of language that we have in American languages defeats you. Imam Hathic was talking about the word environment. The word in the language where it kind of uses loosely violence. And I think Imam Ajin was also saying that. One of the Imams were saying that also in the Quran, where it's misinterpreted war, the term war. Allah don't need us to know about violence and war. That's something that he had to order the prophet. That's something that's not in our nature, to be violent. But if you put the influences, Shaitan put the influences there, then you're going to have people fighting. It's not natural for families, husbands and wives, to fight. The children, you can go to some places that aren't touched by modern society, and you won't see any spirit of dissension or discourse amongst the families. Like the Indians, they find, the native South Americans, they find people in the jungle and different places like that, where they living in peace and harmony with their immediate family. So that's not in our nature. So I like to believe that a lot of this is just a language that they put, and when they talk about the universe, and they talk about, the brother mentioned the Big Bang Theory, and they talk about the violence and the destruction and the this and the that and the this and that. Just look at what's going on in the universe, and since they have that telescope, they color things because they know the wavelengths of different gases, so they can color it. It's so beautiful. And I'm like, how can something that beautiful that ain't human be that violent? So we have some violent people that you think they're beautiful until you approach them the wrong way. But the human being, the physical body, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he used to teach on that. They think that they can go, that you can't go out there, and the physical body and human being can't go out there. But they can't go. Not now. They may have hopes for it, but that's just a hypothesis or whatever. But if you go out there, that's just like fire. Is fire terrible and destructive? Why do we turn it on in our kitchens every day and warm up food if it's so horrible and violent? We don't refer to our stove as violent, no. So why would you refer to what's going on in the creation of solar systems and in the creation of stars and planets as being violent? From our seat, it's beautiful. And on a cool night, I like to turn the little gas fireplace we have on, and you know, I don't stare at the fire long, but it's attractive. It emits heat. You know, it's warm. So I think that the language that makes us think those things are violent are holding us back. If you approach it in a peaceful manner, because it's doubtful that a human being could ever approach a black hole. And I've said this to an audience, but not here, so I'll say it again. I believe that they believe, the scientists